Do you remember when the Queen said, grief is the price that we pay for love? She said that in her speech after 9/11. Well, following the funeral, the royal family are now entering a 7-day period of private mourning. And those days following a funeral can be the hardest, can't they, Carl?
Yeah, definitely. And I am glad that they're doing that, actually. I think now they do need to just be a family behind closed doors. But they are the hardest days. I think the day after, the week after, actually, the funeral is really, really hard because everyone's been there for you. From the time you lost the person up until the funeral, everyone's there. They're on the phone, they're coming around making sure you're eating, and do you want anything, and arms around you. And then the funeral happens, and everybody then goes back to what they, you know, they have to go back to work or their families. And I think that's the moment when it hits you about the person that you've lost. But equally, it's the moment where you have to realise that life does go on. It has to go on, you know, and you have to be, you know, I think it's nice if you've got someone to talk to about it all the time, obviously. But there is that moment where you have to go. And the person that you've lost, you know, when I lost my sister Bernie, I remember her saying to me before she died, said it to all of us, you know, she said, listen, you can cry for 2 weeks. She went, and you better cry a lot because I was worth it. And then she went, but after 2 weeks, you get up and you go out and you move on. And because
I was going to say,
you have to do.
because you have experienced a lot of loss, do you find it's easy to throw yourself back to work and have a distraction? Like, what works for you?
It kind of, I think it's good that I've got something that I have to go and do because you have to go to work, you know, you've still got to pay, the bills aren't going to stop just because you've lost someone. And, you know, my kids were quite young at the time, so you have to think about them. I've also got people that can't stop then. You know, I have friends that work and work and work and get up because they can't sit and think about it. I had to have moments
You've got to
where I
process
had
it.
to process it and maybe have a day where I didn't get off the couch and I cried all day, but the next day I would force myself to get up again. Yeah.
I mean, with you, Kelly, your mum passed away not that long ago, in 2017. She had blood cancer, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
So how did you deal with things in the days after you buried her?
Well, I wasn't good at all. You know, that initial shock of somebody going is so hard. And I don't think there's any time for anybody to process it. I don't think you could ever say, this is how I dealt with it and that will be your journey.
And that's
so
be the
very
right
different.
way,
yeah,
everyone's different.
So different. So for 3 weeks, so ours was from her passing to the funeral was 3 weeks. So that was incredibly tough. I did not function at all. I didn't go out. I cancelled everything. I couldn't go out. Then actually, the day after her funeral, I had moved a speaking engagement. So I do public speaking around the world. Moved a speaking engagement to the Monday in Barcelona because I felt that if I don't go and do something...
And that was the day after?
The day after, and that was the hardest day ever.
Do you think you wanted normality then?
I needed just to do something that wasn't so consuming with the grief I felt. But I broke down on stage and I had to tell them that I just, you know, buried my mother. But it was almost cathartic. I needed to do it with strangers as well, because, of course, everybody around me, my family and that was grieving, and everyone dealt with it very differently, and I might not understood how somebody got over it quicker than I did. So I needed to go and be with people that didn't really have a connection with me, but
and weren't
understand.
consumed by the same grief you were feeling.
Yeah, and I can't say it lifted me to be jolly or anything, but it helped me move that next stage on.
And you were able to do the talk and deliver.
Yeah, I mean, I really broke down. I felt a bit embarrassed, but then I had to just say to them, I'm so sorry. But I just buried my mother, and they gave me a standing ovation. They were so warm. Then I just did my talk. But it connected me with people because, of course, no one knows when you go from your day-to-day life what somebody else is going through.
So
we don't know because most people won't talk about it. And I felt that there would be people in that room that felt similar to me who couldn't tell their colleagues or their friends. So
how long did it take for you for it to get better? And I mean, you're never in a position where it's okay. You just learn to live with it and learn to accept it, don't you?
Exactly. I honestly say I was in bereavement process for about a year. Really struggled. Again, it's about different connection you have with people. My mother had me when she was 17. We'd had an on-off relationship in that earlier days for lots of reasons, and she struggled at the time when she had me, so I felt kind of this real connection with my mum as we went on. It was very, very hard, and I just feel that I would like to say to people, one of the things that really helped me was knowing what my mum wanted for her funeral process, because I felt that that gave me some sense of comfort on the day, knowing that everything that she wanted, we had delivered
It's so important,
in a way.
that, I think, for people
to
to
talk
It's a
and
really
ask.
horrible thing to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, what do I want for my funeral? But I think it's so important. Bernie was the same.
Yeah.
Down to who went in what cars she'd written
really?
down.
Oh, that is organised.
But, you know, because people are grieving, and grieving differently on the day. So there is going to be that, well, why am I in that car? Why I should be at the one in front. But because she'd written it all down, everyone just did what she wanted. And it made, I think it's really important that.
I do have a funny story, though, just to bring it up a little bit. So my mum wanted to be cremated, and if she wasn't, she was coming back to haunt us.
Did she actually say that?
Oh, yeah. So she was cremated, believe me. Don't want my mum haunting me. And I also knew that there was 4 main places around the country that she'd always wanted to go, and it was just too late. So we decided we were going to go to these 4 places and scatter the ashes.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Anyway, the first time we did it, all my family, I have a large family, and they're all coming in, getting handfuls, because I'd covered it with a box, because we were in a public place, and I don't think you're always allowed to do it in a public place, are you? So I had this box covered with one of my nephew's jackets. They all come in, get a handle. We were sprinkling like shake and vac. Literally.
Very subtle.
That was OK. But when we went to the New Forest and to Isle of Wight and to the Cotswolds, every time it was windy. So we're standing along line with Bowen. I've got a quarter of my mother inside me.
Oh,
You know, like, with the ashes, I swear. Because every time we did it, like 1, 2, we're obviously sad, but every time we do it, we go 1, 2, 3, and it like, got the wind back on us. We're trying to get rid of you.
You were massive pigeon lovers and feeding all the birds.
I know. So, yeah. So,
and did you laugh? Because I think within
course.
grief, you also have to have those moments of laughter.
we have to have those, as
You
a
know?
family, and that
Those
was
dark times, you do laugh,
yeah,
as
you
you'll
do.
cry.
And they're the things we remember, those funny bits as well.
Yeah. I think in the days, I mean, I think it was probably about 3 weeks, I think, between my mum passing and us burying her, and we did like the whole traditional Caribbean way of doing grief, where we have a 9-night and everyone comes round and they drink and they chat and they play dominoes and there's a bit of prayer and stuff. And then the actual funeral is a big celebration of life with hundreds of people and food and drink and DJs and everything.
I love that.
And then the next day, having had our house full for 3 weeks, it was just quiet.
That's tough.
That's hard.
And then it was suddenly like you didn't quite know what to do. And I went back to work, I think, 2 days after the funeral. And I thought that was the best thing for me in terms of getting back to normality. But hindsight's a wonderful thing. And I think that as a family, perhaps we should have travelled and spent time with just us.
Yeah.
Because we've been around everybody for weeks. And she, you know, she didn't go into, she stayed with us in the weeks where she was dying. So I think in total, for about 6 to 8 weeks, our house was full of people. But hindsight's a wonderful thing. And I think, but you have to find your own way to process it, as you were saying.
Yeah.
Until it happens, you don't know what to do.
No one size fits all, does it? But can I just say, and you're all witness, that if I die and I'm in an urn, don't give it to her.
Kelly has crossed off that list.
Yeah.
Right, if you are struggling with the loss of a loved one, all the information that you might need is on our website.